Boom, 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 boom. Now tell me what you gonna do, but it ain't nowhere to run. When judgment comes for you, when judgment comes for you, tell me what you gonna do, when it ain't nowhere to hide. When judgment comes for you, 'cause it's gonna come for you.
Making it for water, easy, see something Charlie. Little boo guy's got him, and I'm gonna miss everybody out of row and flow like I ain't looked at a while. Like and pray for dust, and they play too deep for being sad. Little legs I got to be. Tell me your feature deceased, would it please? Marry me by my grand, when you can go.
Back on Wrestling. Welcome back to the CrosUp, your weekly look back at the week that was professional wrestling. I'm going to be running through the results and happenings from February 15th to February 21st from Collision to SmackDown, and Collision was Grand Slam Australia, which was treated as a special episode, treated as a special show, and it ended up being a pretty solid outing for the All Elite brand. So we'll start with that. We opened with Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay defeating Konosuke Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher when they hit a hidden blade into the one-winged angel combo on Takeshita for the win. We then get Mercedes Moné retaining her TBS championship over Harley Cameron via pinfall after hitting the Moneymaker. After the match, Moné mocks Momo Watanabe, who was in the crowd, who is going to get a title shot eventually against Mercedes Moné following her win at Wrestle Dynasty. We then get Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay. They're back in the back. They're happy with their win earlier tonight. Omega wants a shot at Takeshita's international title, and Ospreay also challenges Kyle Fletcher to a cage match at Revolution as well. We then get Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli defeating Cope and Jay White when Mox is able to choke Cope out with the Bulldog choke. This was a Brisbane brawl, basically just a street fight, anything goes kind of situation, but a pretty solid brawl nonetheless. We then get Kazuchika Okada defeating Buddy Matthews via pinfall following a low blow and a Rainmaker. Honestly, I felt like that one could have been a little better. I feel like that one is maybe the one that got skimmed a little bit for time. Because honestly, they didn't have a lot of fluff on this show, so there was a lot of times given to matches, and I feel like this one may be the one that kind of got taken away from a little bit. But we will finish up that show with Toni Storm becoming the new AEW Women's World Champion, defeating Mariah May via pinfall with an inside cradle. So kind of seemed to be like a little bit of an upset win. Took away from it a little bit. I would have liked to have seen maybe Toni win with the Storm Zero, but obviously this feud is going to continue based kind of on how the result was. But yeah, would have liked to have seen a little bit more of a definitive win there, but good to see Toni back in her timeless form and back as champion. But the opener, the tag opener with Omega and Ospreay, was definitely the best match, probably the best match on TV this year so far. Just really, four really good athletes, four really good wrestlers, just four of the best in-ring guys out there in the entire world. But yeah, the whole show was great. They treated it as a big deal. Like I said, Okada and Matthews, while also being really good, was probably the only disappointing match on the show. So definitely a solid card across the board. We'll move to Raw from there. We open with Sami Zayn. He comes out and thanks the crowd for the warm reception that he has received. He's been thinking about his history with Kevin Owens, starting in pool halls in Montreal, working their way through the ranks, and then headlining WrestleMania together as a tag team. A story that long has a lot of betrayals involved, and this time Zayn won't forgive and forget. Owens tried to end Zayn's career, and he didn't get the job done. His neck isn't good, but he's ready to fight Owens again. Adam Pearce comes out to say that Zayn is not medically cleared to compete in any kind of match, so he can't make the match for Elimination Chamber. Pearce goes to leave, and Zayn says Pearce knows him better than that. Zayn wants to fight. Pearce agrees that he can give him a match, but it has to be unsanctioned, meaning Owens can do anything that he wants, including all the package pile drivers he would like to hit on Sami. It could mean that it could be Sami Zayn's last match of his career. The crowd chants, "Let them fight," obviously. Zayn goes up the aisle to go face-to-face with Adam Pearce. He says he can do anything or he can do everything Pierce suggested to Owens as well. And after thinking on it for a bit, Adam Pierce makes the match, but it will be unsanctioned at Elimination Chamber in Toronto. We then get a clip from SmackDown where we see that Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez were shown near Jade Cargill's attack back a few months ago. Naomi and Bianca are here to deal with it tonight. We then get Dominic Mysterio. He is worried about Liv Morgan, who isn't worried about anything else other than herself. Mysterio is also a bit tired of Finn Balor getting on his case. Balor comes in, who says after tonight there will be 3 members of the Judgment Day at Elimination Chamber, assuming Raquel Rodriguez can win her match. They both agree to handle their own businesses, with Balor insisting that there are no new members to the team. And then they all seem to head out, but Carlito seems to get left behind and doesn't head towards the ring. So Carlito, obviously being kind of an airhead, playing video games in the the Judgment Day clubhouse all the time, so he kind of got left behind a little bit. We then get AJ Styles. He defeats Dominic Mysterio via pinfall with the Styles Clash. After the match, Braun Breaker comes in, tries to spear AJ, but ends up hitting Mysterio instead. Breaker is then sent out to the outside of the ring. He then throws his shirt back at AJ, and AJ somehow catches it despite it flying super fast back at him. But it was a pretty miraculous catch by AJ. So pretty funny little moment there. But we then get Ivy Nile. She is ready to get some gold in the American-made camp. But Dakota Kai comes in. Kai doesn't want to hear about Nile's plans, and we'll see her in the ring later on tonight. And that match actually happens next, where Dakota Kai is able to defeat Ivy Nile via pinfall following the GTK, and this makes her the #1 contender for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. We then get Gunther. He is in the concourse, kind of playing up Jey Uso coming through the crowd for his entrance. Walks into the arena. Gunther does a bit of a yeet dance as he comes to the ring before saying he gets why the fans like Jey so much. Gunther performing for wrestlers is like reading Shakespeare to a dog. He is tired of stepping into the ring with people who can't lace his boots. The problem is that the match at WrestleMania will take place in the ring. Gunther gets to ringside and wants a professional opinion about what to expect at WrestleMania. He asks commentary for their supposed professional opinions and throws a mic at McAfee, who drops it. He asks, does McAfee think Uso can beat Gunther? And McAfee says, yeah, he hopes Uso can beat him. Cole doesn't think that was a good idea, and Gunther takes his jacket off. But Jey Uso comes out to interrupt. With McAfee on the announcer's table for his yeet dance, Uso breaks through security, goes after Gunther, who gets a sleeper on. That is broken up, and Gunther is cleared out, so more yeeting can ensue. So pretty good little brawl and confrontation there between Gunther, McAfee, and Uso. So good to see that there. We then get Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. They don't like being accused of attacking Jade Cargill, but they know that Raquel is ready for her Elimination Chamber qualifying match, and they never actually deny attacking Jade, though they don't admit it either. We then get Penta. He defeats Pete Dunne via pinfall with the Penta driver. Post-match, the beatdown is on, but Penta knocks both Pete Dunne and Ludwig Kaiser outside and hits a big running flip dive out onto both of them. We then get Jey Uso. He is tired of being told he can't do it, and he's ready to prove everyone wrong. We then get a hype video for Roxanne Perez, kind of talking about her performance in the Royal Rumble and all that she's accomplished in NXT so far. We then get the War Raiders. They want another match with the Creed brothers for the tag title. Obviously, the War Raiders are the champs, but they want to give them another shot because they want to beat their asses again. We then get Roxanne Perez actually defeating Raquel Rodriguez via pinfall following Pop Rocks after a distraction from Liv and the tag team champions of Bianca and Naomi. This gets Roxy the final spot in the Elimination Chamber, and then after the match, Rodriguez saves Liv Morgan from Belair and Naomi, but not before they got a little bit of a beatdown on Liv. We then get Seth Rollins. He is ready to win tonight and go on to WrestleMania after he wins Elimination Chamber. Karrion Kross is glad to see Sami Zayn coming to reality, and if he thinks he can beat Kevin Owens, he is insane. Io Sky is doing some like underwater training of some sort. She talks about how she is going to take the women's world title from Rhea Ripley and go on to WrestleMania. And we then see some past highlights of Io Sky beating Rhea Ripley in NXT back in the day, and then she promises to do the same in 2 weeks and become women's world champion. We then get New Day out for a chat. Well, they say, well, in theory, at least as the fans are booing them, well, scratch that. They come out for a chat, and then they are trying to cut a promo, but the fans are booing them so mercilessly that they can't really get anything out. They don't understand why people are mad at them for attacking Rey Mysterio. Is Rey Mysterio supposed to be some legend because of what he's done? Kingston has won more titles and has been here longer than Mysterio because he has never left. If anyone should be the locker room leader, it should be Kingston. Last week, they smashed Mysterio's ankle with a chair, and it could have been worse. The fans really should be more grateful that they didn't give him the old Yeller treatment. The LWO comes out, and Dragon Lee throws some insults at them in Spanish. He makes it clear that New Day sucks, and the brawl is on, but New Day bails before Lee can hit a big dive out onto them. So just continued New Day LWO stuff. But after that, we go to Bianca and Naomi in the back. They're ready to defend their tag team titles against Raquel and Liv next week on Raw. And then we get our main event, which was for the final Elimination Chamber spot in the men's side. And it was Seth Rollins defeating Finn Balor via pinfall following the stomp. And that was the best match on the show. One of the best matches of the week, and another really great TV match, one of the best of the year so far. So definitely look for that to be in the top 5 later. We then go to NXT. We open with Oba Femi. He wants the 4 guys who attacked him at Vengeance Day to come out and get some revenge from him. Instead, we get the TNA X Division champion, Moose. They have a big man stare down. Moose says this has to happen, and Femi seems ready for it to happen as well. They each stare each other down and hold up their titles. So they don't really announce when the match will happen, but they both kind of admit that it needs to happen sometime or another. We then get a shot of something earlier today where Cale Dixon and Uriah Connors invited Ava and Eddie Thorpe to their after party later after tonight's show. They both say no, funnily enough, with Thorpe saying they should be at Chase U. And eventually, after a little bit of argument, they get Mr. Chase a match against Eddie Thorpe later tonight. We then get Carmen Petrovich. She defeats Kalani Jordan and Jada Parker when Petrovich rolls up Jordan after Jada had hit the hip. I believe she hit the hip attack on her. And this actually makes Carmen the number 1 contender for Stephanie Vaquer's North American Women's Championship. And then after the match, Fatal Influence runs in, beats down Petrovich. And she beats her down as they kind of take a break, go to the commercial, and then they come back, and Fatal Influence is beating down Julia and Stephanie Vaquer, but Jordan Grace runs in to make the save, and Grace clears the ring and issues a 6-woman challenge for a tag match later tonight. So it'll be the 2 champs and Jordan Grace versus Fatal Influence. We then get Stax. He tells the D'Angelo family that he has to deal with Shawn Spears tonight on his own. We then get Sol Ruka and Zarya defeating the Meta Girls of Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend when Sol hits the Soul Snatcher on Jakara. We then get Wes Lee and his 2 boys, DuPont and Igwe. They are talking about how things are wild around here and that the still unnamed Ricky Starks, obviously we'll learn his name later on in the broadcast, but he's still unnamed. But he pops in and says he'll answer your questions out in the arena. And then we get our contract signing for Ava. Ava comes out and introduces us to Ricky for the contract signing. Starks is glad to be here, and he's ready to take this place by storm and win everything there is to win. The Revolution is ready to begin, and he is ready to sign. But Ethan Page comes out and interrupts. Page says Starks is following his playbook and is probably guaranteed a title shot in his contract. Stark doesn't buy this and is ready to take the show to a new level, but Page isn't convinced. Starks thinks Javon Evans will be coming back to get his revenge on Page, and obviously this cues Javon Evans to come in and jump Ethan Page, and they kind of brawl to the back. We then get Wes Lee coming out, interrupting the signing a little bit more. Starks offers to face him next week. Lee tries to cut off the signing, but gets clotheslined to the floor. And then we see Ricky finally sign the contract, and his name is officially changed to Ricky Saints. So maybe not the worst name. I honestly wish they would have just let him keep his name, but obviously I know that name's kind of more associated with AEW. But yeah, we'll see how it kind of plays out. But not a terrible name, but not the best either. We then get the No Quarter Catch crew. They interrupt Fraxium and call out the Hardy Boys, who are the TNA Tag Team Champions, for a match next week in Cincinnati. We then get Ricky Saints. He's in the back. And a bunch of people, Hank and Tank, Josh Briggs, Inamura, and others have been attacked. They seemingly have been laid out by the unknown attackers that we've kind of dealt with at Vengeance Day. And then Ricky Saints says, "Damn, this place is crazy." We then move to our next match where Sean Spears defeats Stax via pinfall following the C4. We then get Lexus King, introduces himself to Moose, and doesn't like what he has seen, what he has been doing so far. Moose says if King wants an X Division title shot next week, he's on. We then get Andre Chase. He is almost fired up over what Eddie Thorpe said earlier, but then he comes back to reality and remembers that Chase U is no more. Which obviously depresses him back into his regular state. We then get Eddie Thorpe. He defeats Andre Chase via pinfall following an Impaler DDT. And after the match, Trick Williams pops up on the screen and says things aren't over between him and Thorpe. We then get Ethan Page. He interrupts Ava and Ricky Saints to complain about Javon Evans. Wes Lee and Evans come in, so Ava makes a tag team match between the four of them for next week. The Hardys then pop up on I think it was like a Twitter video or something like that. They said they are down to face the No Quarter Catch crew next week and invite Fraxium to watch as that match goes on. We then get the main event where Julia, Jordan Grace, Stephanie Vacour defeat Fatal Influence when Grace hits the Juggernaut Driver on Jasmine Nix. And after the match, the winners kind of pose and Grace looks at both of the champions' titles. They called it the Grace Driver. I'm not calling it that. It's the Juggernaut Driver. That's what it's been called in TNA for all this time. So they can call it whatever they want, but I'm going to call it the Juggernaut Driver because that's what it is. But after that, we get a closing scene where there's a brawl in the parking lot, and Ava's office has been absolutely trashed. Mr. Stone is down, and the words of "No one is safe" have been painted on the wall. And Ava acts like a dumbass and isn't sure who the people who did all this, but obviously it was our four attackers from the pay-per-view that we had already. So, but the main event tag, 6-woman tag, was the best match of the show. But actually, both women's tags on the show were quite good. But I would give the leg up to the main event just because they had a little bit more star power and got a little bit more time. We will then go to Dynamite. We open with MJF and Hangman Page. MJF brings up losing to Page in the first AEW match, and in his first AEW match, I should say, and how far he has come since then. We hear about everything he has done and how much better he has done it than Hangman. MJF hits his catchphrase, but Page wants to know why MJF thinks Page doesn't know him. When MJF listed his accomplishments, he sounded angry about them. MJF tells him to shut his mouth and insists he doesn't care about the fans. We hear about various horrible things Page has done, but but the fans still insist that he is a good guy and did nothing wrong. Everyone loves Page, but does he love himself? Did he love himself when he ended the career of Christopher Daniels? That sends Page over the edge about how Daniels is a far better man than MJF could ever be. Page threatens to knock the smug look off of his face before talking about how the fans don't like MJF because of his lies. Yes, Page has lied multiple times, but he has never lied to the fans. MJF spent years cheating and scheming his way to the top. For once, for MJF's sake, Page hopes things have changed a bit. MJF mocks Page for not liking how he got here before calling out Page for being the chosen one. When MJF came in here, he only had a scarf and a mic and a look where it got him. Name one thing Paige does better than MJF. Paige says that I am real, and that's why I'm better than you. Paige says he has no problem being the bad guy, and they are ready to go, but security comes out, and MJF actually spits in Adam Page's face, but scurries away. And then Page goes nuts, losing his mind, but Christopher Daniels seems to be the voice of reason to come kind of calm down Page and tells him that he knows who he is. Page then walks away and isn't sure kind of what to think about the whole situation. So again, continuing to build towards a possible MJF Hangman match, probably at Revolution, but we'll see if it actually comes to pass at that point. We get video highlights of the show Grand Slam that happened the past weekend. We then get Roddy Strong. He is ready to face Orange Cassidy because they are required to do this forever. And yes, Kyle O'Reilly is cool with his friends fighting tonight because obviously he was in the conglomeration with Orange Cassidy, but he is now in the Undisputed Kingdom with Roddy Strong and Adam Cole. We then get they get a 6-man tag where the Ops is the new tag team name, or the new trio's name, of Samoa Joe, Shibata, and Hook, and they defeat the Patriarchy when Hook catches Nick Wayne in the Red Rum and taps him out. We then get announced that MJF and Hangman is set for Revolution, so we will get that match there. Chris Jericho then comes out, says he doesn't want to hear about Bandito beating him at ROH Global Wars. He got everyone here a job, and people still ask him for his picture. Bandito is the person who they asked to take the picture. So at Collision, Bandito gets a ROH world title shot that he has earned. Powerhouse Hobbs then defeats Big Bill in a street fight where he is knocked through a pair of barbed wire tables and ends up getting kind of caught in some of the barbed wire, and he can't answer a count of 10. So my thoughts on this match: very good brawl, very good hardcore match. The finish kind of confused a lot of people because it was just a street fight, but it seems to have kind of turned into a Texas death match of sorts, or like a last man standing at some point. I think Big Bill was like legit caught in the barbed wire and couldn't get out, so they kind of scurried to come up with a different finish because I do think he was supposed to get out and Hobbs was supposed to pin him, but his arm seemed like it was legit, like stuck, and he couldn't get out, and they didn't want him to hurt himself, so they made him kind of stay on the ground, get counted down, and that's how the match ended. So it was a little confusing for the ending because they didn't seem to have like a last man standing rule towards the beginning of the match, but it seems like that's just kind of how it ended. But a really, really good hardcore match for sure. Good street fight. But yeah, kind of a confusing ending, but I think they kind of got worked into a shoot a little bit. So, but then we get the Murder Machines. They challenge the Hurt Syndicate for a match on Collision for the tag team titles. We then get Toni Storm saying this tramp is your new champ, obviously talking about herself. She took the title from someone who took her soul and calls Mariah May a sick bitch. May has been compromised to a bitter end, and now for the cheap plug, Storm will be in a movie called Queen of the Ring that's coming out on May 7th. She needs a challenger and it could be anybody from Willow Nightingale to Wendy Richter, but no matter what, she is timeless. We then get Gabe Kidd getting announced for Collision. Willow Nightingale then complains about the Death Riders, but Marina Shafir once again jumps her. Jon Moxley steals the camera, comes into the ring to say he is the world champion, meaning everything belongs to him. Cope isn't here, but if he shows up at Revolution, Moxley will finish the job. Jay White then comes out, so Pac shows up to kind of surround him and prevent him from coming any closer, only for Cope to finally show up and clear the ring. The chase goes into the crowd, and Cope says these are his people. Cope is going to take the Death Riders out one by one so that it's man versus man at Revolution. We then get Mercedes Moné. She wants no surprises or puppets, and there is no stopping her. We then get a video of Momo Watanabe saying she's coming for the title shot, so Moné says, come say it to her face. We then get We then get Megan Bayne defeating Chris Statlander, and after Penelope Ford gets involved and Bayne hits the F5 after the match, she hits the beatdown continues until Thunder Rosa makes the save. Now, this was another kind of weird situation. She comes out with a chair and seemingly is trying to attack them with it. So I don't know if they like miscommunicated, because there was like this weird exchange with a chair where she like wouldn't hit them, but I don't know if they were out of place or if they were supposed to be doing something else. But there was a major miscommunication at the end of this attack, because Thunder Rosa kind of looks like a goof just swinging a chair around, and she didn't ever actually hit him with it. So definitely a weird scene there for sure. But then we go back to Max Caster. He isn't deterred by his 2 losses in his open challenges so far, and issues another one for Collision. We then get Ricochet out. He has Prince Nana's robe on. He insults the city of Phoenix. He speaks to the crowd at home rather than the animals that are here. He proved that he was a winner 2 weeks ago when he beat Swerve, and we hear about some of his other big wins. Now it's time for him to go after some gold, because he is too good looking not to be a champion. Prince Nana then comes out and interrupts him, says he asked Swerve to stay home. Nana doesn't know where this is going, but he wants to talk about that robe. That robe represents pride and integrity, but Nana never gave Ricochet that honor. Nana wants the robe back, so Ricochet tells him to take it. Instead, Ricochet just kind of bails and leaves before much else can happen. We then get our main event where Orange Cassidy defeats Roderick Strong via pinfall following an orange punch. After the match, Cassidy is about to be interviewed, but the Don Callis family interrupts. The Don Callis family beats down Orange Cassidy, but Kenny Omega comes out to make the save, and then Orange and Omega clear the ring, and Omega holds up the international title. So the win for Cassidy qualifies him for a match to face Takeshita, and then whoever wins that match faces Omega at Revolution. So somehow the champion has to qualify for a championship match at a pay-per-view. But I don't see Orange beating Takeshita to get there, because I think Takeshita Omega is something that everybody wants to see, and that could be a really, really, really solid match. So. But that main event was pretty solid, but I would go with that Big Bill, Powerhouse Hobbs street fight. Despite the ending, I think it was still a really good match and a really good brawl. But that would be my best match for Dynamite. We'll move on to Impact. We opened with a Joe Hendry concert. He says he will face anyone from any company, so much that he wrote a song about it. He sings that Joe Hendry was a surprise, and Sheamus couldn't believe his eyes. His favorite moment was beating up The Miz. He says it's hard to be humble when you're in the Royal Rumble. He would have won if not for Roman Reigns. The Colon brothers of Eddie and Orlando, I believe is what they were calling themselves. But Primo and Epico, previously in WWE, make their TNA debut, coming out to interrupt. The crowd, of course, chants, "Where's Carlito?" Which he could obviously show up at some point with the agreement between WWE and TNA. But he did not come out with his brothers here. But they don't get much out other than saying they're coming here to take care of business. The lights go off once again, and Elijah appears, which is obviously the former Elias. Elijah sings that he sees 2 men looking for a fight, so he decided to join TNA tonight. He asks who wants to walk with Elijah, and then the fans do the "Oh, walk with Elijah" chant, and then he plays guitar to the tune, of course, to kind of go along with it. We get a "This is awesome" chant. He said these guys made their debut, and he came and made it even better. He asked Joe if he's got his guitar ready. Santino then comes out and makes a tag team match between the 4 men tonight. Elijah says there's no reason they can't have a concert right now, and then they sing Elijah and Joe Hendry are going to raise some hell tonight. We then get Gia Miller. She is backstage with Leon Slater. Leon Slater says that the system see him as a young boy to hold titles and hand them drinks. He says the system might not respect him, but he doesn't need the system. He says he is going to beat the arse of JDC tonight. We then get Gia Miller. She's backstage with the Colones. Orlando says the company needs them and their family history and tradition. He says this is legacy. And now this is TNA Wrestling. We then get the Rascals. They defeat Igwe and DuPont when Wentz hits the Swanton on DuPont. Wesley gets the mic and suggests that the Rascals and Ace Austin face the three of them at Sacrifice, which is coming up pretty soon. We then get First Class out for a new talking segment called the First Class Penthouse. AJ Francis kind of compares it to Piper's, like a new age Piper's Pit. They introduce some people from the entertainment industry. Frank the Clown and Noel Foley are there among them. We then get, AJ then says something about Roddy Piper, that Roddy Piper doesn't get the credit he deserves for the Hulkamania craze, and that AJ Francis is the same because he doesn't get the credit he deserves for starting Hendry Mania. He introduces the first guest of the First Class Penthouse, and some people say he is phenomenal. Others say he has a lot of style, and then he introduces himself, AJ Francis, as their first guest. The fans obviously boo because they thought it was going to be AJ Styles. AJ says that guy left this place to go to the other place, and he left that place to come make this place great. So obviously talking about AJ going from TNA, WWE, and then he obviously left, aka got fired from WWE to come make TNA better. We then get Lei Ying Lee. She defeats Rosemary via pinfall with the Thunderstruck kick. Rosemary sprays mist in Lee's face after the match, and the referees take her to the back to get checked on by medical personnel. We then get Eric Young. He comes out and says Judas and Travis, the other members of the Northern Armory, were pawns under Josh Alexander leadership, and they were boys, but under his lead, they will be men and champions and stand atop of this company. He says no one has sacrificed like he has. He says he is the gatekeeper. He says there is only one person who should be beside him. He calls out Steve Macklin, but Steve Macklin obviously doesn't come out because he doesn't trust him anymore. Eric Young says he understands. He says he looked into his soul and spoke to him, and it spoke back. He says he warned Eric about Josh, so maybe he did it for Steve Macklin. He says this business is not black and white, but blood red. We then get Santana, Mike Santana. He is in Alcoholics Anonymous. He's obviously in some kind of meeting. Mustafa Ali comes in and says every single person here is an inspiration. He says the addiction made them do terrible things. He tells them to take it one day at a time. He tells them not to put themselves in high pressure situations. He tells them to let the leaders lead and the followers will follow. He tells Santana that things can change, but people like him don't. We then see highlights of Moose's visit to NXT. We then get a match where JDC defeats Leon Slater via pinfall after the rest of the system interferes and puts Slater through a table, and then JDC is able to pick up the scraps and get the pin. After the match, the system gang up on Leon Slater. The fans start chanting for Oba Femi to come out, but the Hardys come out first, and the system still has the numbers advantage, so Oba Femi's music hits, and then he comes out and takes out the rest of the system, setting up a match for next week with the Hardys and Oba taking on three members of the system. We then get Tessa Blanchard. She comes out. She says she will not be wrestling tonight. She says a doctor backstage decided that Tessa was not a priority, so she didn't get medically checked or medically cleared. She says the doctor gave the priority to someone who isn't on her level. She says half the people in the arena follow her on social media and paid to watch her, so sit down or she will show them the door. Tessa says this industry runs on Blanchard time. Santino Marella then comes out. He says if she doesn't wrestle next week, she is fired no matter what. Masha Slamovich's music then hits, and she says she really hopes to see Tessa wrestle next week and that she will not be fired until she gets that chance to brutalize her. So she wants to give her a beatdown of her own. She says since one of them is unprofessional and unwilling to do their job, she will wrestle the jobber that's been standing in the ring this whole time. And Santino says she can wrestle her right now. Masha Slamovich then defeats Mila Moore via pinfall with the Requiem pile driver. And then after the match, Cora Jade attacks Masha from behind and hits Jaded. she walks up the ramp and has a little bit of a stare down with Tessa Blanchard. So we'll see if Cora ends up having some kind of match with Tessa down the line, but she seems to be headed towards a match with Masha. So we'll see where and how that eventually happens. We then get Santino Marella. He is backstage with his daughter Ariana Grace, of course, and they announce that Cora Jade will face Masha Slamovich at Sacrifice. The Elegances and the Personal Concierge then come in and demand a rematch as they come with documents that he did and that Santino didn't do anything about the documents. Spitfire comes in and I ask if the Elegances are still crying. The Personal Concierge says not anymore. Jody Threat says they have no problem defending their titles again, but it's up to Santino. The Personal Concierge then says Spitfire should be carrying their bags. Santino says if Spitfire wins, Ash and Heather will be their personal concierge for 24 hours. And then Danny Luna makes it even, says they'll not only defend their titles, but they will be their personal concierge for 24 hours as well. So no matter what, somebody's going to be carrying somebody else's bags for a day. But it's also for the tag titles as well. We then get Ryan Nemeth. He comes out and says his big brother will return to TNA in 22 days at Sacrifice. And then we get our main event where Elijah and Joe Hendry defeat the Colognes when Elijah hits a tombstone pile driver on Eddie. And the best match for me on TNA this week was the JDC and Leon Slater match. It was mostly because of Slater. He just has some real high impact offense he's really entertaining to me. So he is a good young talent, and I think he's going to make a lot of splashes in this industry. So, but he made that match really entertaining, and I thought that was the best match of the night on Impact. But we will go from there to our last show, which is SmackDown. Cody Rhodes arrives at the arena ready for the main event, but Nick Aldis reveals to him that The Rock has pulled him from that match. We then get our opening match where Jimmy Uso is able to get an upset victory over Drew McIntyre via pinfall with a roll-up. After the match, McIntyre wrecks Jimmy and loads him up for a Claymore and kind of puts his head up against the ring post, but the referees break it up. McIntyre eventually breaks free, does hit a Claymore, but it is not against the post as originally kind of loaded up for. We then look at Solo Sikoa returning last week, but Damian Priest still being able to qualify for the Elimination Chamber. Sikoa arrives in the arena tonight, says what happened was an accident last week. Jacob Fatu says if it wasn't an accident, Sikoa wouldn't be here. Tonight, the two will be running the play, despite Sikoa trying not to be in the match and it being Fatu and Tama Tonga. But Jacob kind of squashes that and says they're going to be running the plays tonight, him and Solo. We then get a video from earlier tonight where R-Truth told Carmelo Hayes that they had a tag match and and Hayes was surprised that he would be teaming with The Miz. And R-Truth teases a Louisiana legend as his tag team partner. We then get Zelina Vega. She is tired of being treated as too small to be a star. And we hear about some of her success, her tag team title runs, and her Queen of the Ring victory. And she says, no matter how many people doubt her, she will keep fighting. We then get the tag team match where Carmelo Hayes and The Miz defeat R-Truth and LA Knight. So LA is obviously, if you look on a map, LA is what the little two-letter kind of thing on a map is for Louisiana. So that's what he thinks. It makes him from Louisiana, despite LA Knight being from Maryland, I believe, somewhere in Maryland. But LA makes him Louisiana Knight for the night. So, but Carmelo and Miz beat him when Miz hits the skull crushing finale and Melo hits the first 48. On Truth, after Shinsuke Nakamura had come out and taken out Knight to kind of allow them to take advantage on R-Truth. We then get a video on Charlotte who says she doesn't have to call herself the GOAT, and true GOATs don't have to do that either, because, they are either the greatest or not, and they don't have to call themselves that. And then she officially says she's facing Tiffany Stratton for the title at WrestleMania. She pretty much announced it last week, but she also just kind of reaffirms it here. We then get Tiffany Stratton. She comes to the ring before her match. She knows that the people are obsessed with her since she won the title, and now she is ready to make sure that the Unstoppable Force comes to a bitter end. For now, though, she wants to talk about Charlotte, who took her sweet time officially challenging her for the title. She says the rumors are true. No one loves to kick a woman down like Charlotte. Stratton is coming for the top spot in WWE, but here is Nia Jax and Candice LeRae to interrupt. Jax promises to come for the title after Elimination Chamber, and Stratton laughs it off and is ready to beat Candice LeRae tonight. And Tiffany Stratton then defeats Candice LeRae via pinfall following the prettiest moonsault ever. They beat her down after the match, but Trish Stratus runs in to make the save. Jax puts Stratus and Stratton down, and then hits a awful double annihilator. I think she didn't think they were close enough or something like that, or thought they were too close or something like that, but it's the softest annihilator I think I've ever seen. And then with Candice and Nia gone, Charlotte comes in and points at the sign over a downed Tiffany Stratton once again. We then get Damian Priest. She runs into Cody Rhodes and respectfully, and he runs into Cody Rhodes, respectfully says he's coming for Rhodes' title after he wins Elimination Chamber. Cody says that's fine, and then he kind of walks away. Braun Strowman that comes in says he was a better man last week and that they're good for their tag match later on tonight against the Bloodline. We then get Naomi and Bianca. They are ready to defend their tag titles next Monday on Raw against Liv and Raquel. They are convinced that the two of them are the ones that attacked Jade Cargill too. We then get a video of Alexa Bliss, who has changed while she was gone, but this place still remains the same. She has won Elimination Chamber before, and she will do it again to get a title shot against Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. We then we're then supposed to get a match between Naomi and Liv Morgan. It never really takes place as Raquel and Liv come out and take out both Bianca and Naomi and leave them laying in the ring to kind of end the segment. And then after the commercial break, Nick Aldis throws both of them out of the arena, and then Chelsea Green and Piper Niven come in and say they are ready to take Belair and Naomi's spots in the Elimination Chamber, thinking that they got beat down bad enough to not be in the match. Aldis says that won't be necessary, though Green then Chelsea refers to herself as the greatest Canadian export since maple syrup. Aldis says she will have a match in Toronto next week, but it will be on SmackDown instead. We then get The Rock. He comes out. This is about a 45-minute segment, I feel like, or at least it felt that long. He doesn't come out with his People's Champ belt this time. He seemingly has had that the last few times he's been there. He says, it's important if he's here, and we get all of his catchphrases, obviously. And then he announces that WrestleMania will be coming back to New Orleans next year, April 11th and 12th, 2026. That was, that was pretty much hyped up as what he was coming for, to announce that, which the SmackDown was in New Orleans as well, which is why they did it here. But they announced that WrestleMania will be in New Orleans next year. He starts singing When the Saints Go Marching In, though he doesn't want it to be a sing-along when he is the final boss. Rock insults the fan and also says he's going to call out Cody Rhodes. He talks about how Cody deserves these cheers, and then talks about their good night in Los Angeles last month for the Netflix debut. They have become friends since then, and their moms are also even friends now as well. The Rock says he is on the board of directors, but he wants Cody to be more than a great champion. He wants Cody to be his champion. Cody isn't sure what this is about, but he says he is their champion, meaning the fans. The Rock brags about his social media following and wants Cody to go even higher than he is currently. If Cody is his champion, the dreams of Cody, his wife, and his daughter can all come true. What The Rock wants is a brother, and that brother he wants to be Cody Rhodes. Last year he wanted Cody to step aside, but Cody did something and told him, I think it gets blurred out, but he says Cody basically told him to go fuck himself. Cody then slapped him last year as well, which no one does and gets away with it. He wants Cody to think about it and give him an answer by Elimination Chamber. And then he says he wants his soul. He doesn't want the championship. He wants his soul, which leaves Cody looking very, very confused. Super long segment. I usually give The Rock some grace, but this was pretty pointless. I know he was mostly there to announce WrestleMania, but they have to give some kind of intrigue to something with him and Cody going forward. This is just an excuse to get Cody on the Elimination Chamber card somehow, in whatever kind of segment this is supposed to be. So, not super interested in where this is going, but we'll see kind of how it plays out. But yeah, just a really, really long segment that I kind of killed what was already not the best SmackDown ever up into this point. So, but we'll go from there. We get DIY versus Pretty Deadly for the tag titles, but it ends in a double DQ when the Street Profits come out, take both of them out. Post-match, the Profits beat them down. So then the Motor City Machine Guns come out, and they actually get beaten up as well. So the Street Profits stand tall over the entire SmackDown Tag Team division. We then look back at John Cena's, kind of career inside Elimination Chamber, his wins, his losses, kind of showing some of his big moments within the match itself. We then look back at Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens getting made an unsanctioned match for Elimination Chamber on Raw. We then get kind of one of the cell phone promos from Kevin Owens saying Zayn got exactly what he wanted and couldn't have just taken the beating that he deserved, that he got. He asks Zayn has he thought about his family. And Owens moves the camera and shows that he is outside Sami Zayn's house and watching them through a window. He'll see Zayn in Toronto, but tells Zayn to remember that he asked for this. And then we get the main event match where Damian Priest and Braun Strowman defeat Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu when Damian hits the South of Heaven chokeslam on Solo. So Solo takes the loss and continues to disappoint Jacob Fatu, it seems. But the main event was the best match. Like I said, it wasn't the best SmackDown. It came to a screeching halt with that insanely long Rock promo. So, yeah, maybe not the best SmackDown, but that match at the end was a good way to end the show. But we'll go from there to our top 5 matches of the week. Obviously, the Ospreay and Omega match where they defeated the Don Callis family from Grand Slam Australia was the best match of the week. Finn and Seth Rollins was number 2. Big Bill and Powerhouse Hobbs gets the number 3 spot for me. And then 2 women's matches from Grand Slam end up at 3, 4, and 5. I gave this edge to Toni Storm and Mariah May. And then Harley and Mercedes was number 5 for me. So really, really good show to start the week. Kind of a bad show. Maybe just not great SmackDown to end the week, but one of the weaker 3-hour attempts so far. But yeah, really solid show to start the week. And in Grand Slam Australia Collision. So really good stuff. But yeah, that'll wrap it up for the week. Thank you for listening as always, and we will see you next week.